Let's change the way things are. They don't have to be the way they've been. This is a new era. This is a new generation. This is a new way to be, to live, to create.
Yes.
You know, we are the future of tattooing. Let's truly change it.
Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between? Hip here, coming to you with another edition of the Tattoo Guardians podcast. And this week we honor Krist Karloff. And I found it appropriate for me to be the one to do this intro because I had the least amount of time and experience with him. But we just get to touch base on his impact, who he was, evil genius, ghost, and many, many other things. We talk about me and Matt going to his viewing, Josh's last experiences with him, plus mine at Evergreen, and just how much of a beautiful person and a beautiful impact he had on us and so many others. So, Krist, this one's for you and your impact. You are a true tattoo guardian.
Hello, brothers. Good afternoon. Welcome back. Joshua Carlton is with us today. Hip, isn't that awesome?
He's back.
Hey! Man, before the show, before we just went live, we just been sitting here exchanging testimonies and real life stories of just how we're sitting back, pinching ourselves of everything that's transpired, everything we're building, and how blessed we are, the impact we've gotten to have in your life, the vessels in your life to help shift and change your life. How do we know this? Because you've been letting us know. We just opened up a gift from a wonderful listener that sent us a love package. We might as well shout that brother out.
Shout out to Jordan at Inked Ergonomics on Instagram.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you.
Yeah, so huge, and all of you. And we're just pinching ourselves to be together. And we're realizing it's just amazing how much beauty and how much huge pockets of happiness we've been able to find in the midst of such dark times in our life recently. We've all been going through so much, and it's just amazing how much happiness and joy we've been able to find and experience during these storms. And we're just
being
elated.
able to inspire people to follow their true path.
My God. Yeah, and going through our own storms, the battles Josh has been facing, I've been serving with a whole heart, even if it's a broken heart at times, right? Mm-hmm, and we need each other. And so you listeners, your feedback really blesses us, fills us up. And yep, we just hit record. We're live. But we're here because we're committed. But Mr. Carlton right now is pushing through, no matter what's going on in his body right now physically, because of you and the mission we set out to do. And I'm just tickled to death that we got our brother Josh with us today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be back. I've been missing you guys like crazy. For our listeners that have been following, I did start a new chemotherapy regimen, and I'm not going to lie, it's been really rough. It's the sickest I've probably been through this whole cancer journey. But a lot of it was getting some medications kind of dialed in, and I think I've got it mostly figured out. So I'm feeling okay today, and I was really hoping I'd be able to be here. So I'm happy and honored to be here.
Yes.
You know, and I just you know, before we hit record, like you said, we just were talking, just to hear you guys' voices, to see your faces. It's just it's a real blessing. So to all you listeners that support us, thank you so much for allowing us to do this. I actually need this in my life right now. So thank you very much.
Jeez, man.
You know,
and we decided,
So I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that, you know, we had Evergreen. My timelines are so messed up, but it's been at least a month, right, guys?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
You know, and, you know, you really get to know, you know, when you go to conventions, it's one of those things where you have these friends that you've known for years, but you might only really see them on the road, you know. You know, if you're lucky, you get to see them at a guest spot or something. But these are friends you make around the world, but you only get to see them in these little pockets. And kind of want to remind everybody to not take that for granted when you have a friend that you get to spend some time with from long distances, to take advantage of that time, because we've recently we've lost a brother. Yeah. And this is somebody that we were actually able to see 3 weeks ago. So just kind of want to start off saying today that we're going to talk about the life, the loss, and the legacy of our fallen brother, Krist Karloff. This is something I'd really like to talk about. I'm wearing his hoodie. This is the last thing he gave me. He handed this to me as a direct gift. And I'll be honest, you get used to like, oh, someone gave me a hoodie. That's cool. I had no idea the importance that this would have only a mere few weeks later.
Man.
So just wanted to kind of just take a moment and let's just talk about and honor Krist. I think that he 100% deserves it.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about that?
Love it. We had the honor of being out at Evergreen with you this year. And I spent time and hung out and sat with Krist at his booth more than anyone, and for a couple reasons. One, and with Hip and I had the honor of actually going to his service last week, and so I even shared this with his family and friends. And we've said this before, the two favorite people that you'll meet in your life is the person that's most comfortable in their own skin, and then the person that makes you feel comfortable in yours. And to me, Krist was always that guy. And so even this year at Evergreen, like I'd be running by, whether I was like, we were all busy, and Krist would be like, hey, Matt, come sit with me. And that's the booth I would go to hide out and be safe, to just be me. And I'd go and sit with Krist because he gave me the gift of I don't have to be anybody. I don't have to perform. I don't have to like give him a good talk. None of that. I can just rest and be present with him. And that was a gift. Just how he rolled. I really feel like that was one of his huge gifts in the world, as amongst many, is to make you feel loved, accepted, and comfortable in your own skin. And at his service, that was real prevalent, wasn't it, Hip? That he didn't just have that impact on me or us, but a sea of people.
Man, yeah. So I go to a lot of funerals in the past years, and I've recently just quit going because I'm just sick of like people passing that didn't have to. But it was different with Krist. Like, people die from other things other than overdoses or drug-related incidents. And it sounds maybe morbid or weird, but it's almost like hopeful for me that like, oh, okay, everybody's not just fucking killing themselves slow and miserably. So I went, and it was amazing, and it was like a celebration. The ones I'm used to, like, there's not a lot of people because you fucking overdosed and died, and you didn't leave the world with many friends that still were in your corner. And this place was fucking packed. It was in a small town, and it was like a bunch of all black, tatted out people. So the locals were turning their heads, which was great. As soon as you walked in, like, it didn't feel sad. I mean, there was hints of like, yeah, this is a bummer, but like, it was a celebration. It was cool. His music and the type of vibe, I'm guessing, because I've met Krist 3 times. The first time at Evergreen, then I met him at Hell City, and then really kind of got to hang out with him. He was one of the last dudes that gave me love attacks at Evergreen. Like, he gave my woman his underwear, not like his underwear, but like underwear he was selling. And gave me some socks and stuff, and was just like giving it away and talking about how much he enjoyed TBM, and just fucking, we were going to go to Indianapolis and explore the catacombs there, because I guess there's catacombs in Indianapolis, like a city below the city, which was cool. So when I heard that like he was passing or had passed, I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was just there kicking it with him. As a matter of fact, that Sunday, a bunch of us went to the Jackalope or something like that, like a pub, and he came, and we had a little cool time kicking it and shit before everybody flew out. But it was just the vibe. It was a good vibe. It wasn't like a normal funeral that I've been used to, and I guess that's kind of how they're supposed to be. It was funny because like right when we walked in, there's what I'm assuming was a bucket list set of like some old papers and things on them were crossed off. So like I found myself like reading some of the things, and one of them was to try to slip on a banana peel, and it had been crossed off as if he had tried to do that. And I thought, like, I tried to do the same thing. Come to find out that cartoons exaggerate a little bit because you can't actually slip on a banana peel, or at least I couldn't, and I'm assuming he couldn't either. And then there was just a bunch of goofy shit, and I appreciated it because it was like, you know, let's look at this dude for who he was, and was to so many people. And the funny thing is, like, you know, when you go into funerals, you write, you know, a little love note or condolences, to let people know that you were there to honor him. Well, this year at Evergreen, like, someone was coming around and having all us artists draw in books. And anybody that's not keen to the tattoo community, anytime you bring tattoo artists books, or you're wanting to them to write a note to a specific other tattoo artist, you're going to get basically an entire notebook full of dicks. So I had the honor of drawing a big fucking meaty veiny bastard for him at Evergreen, and then I felt it appropriate to draw another one for him there because he just seemed like that type of dude, man. He was like down to earth, funny,
Right.
Punk
like
rock.
fucking punk as fuck, dude. Like, they had old vinyl record player in there spinning some vinyl at his viewing. So it was like, it was just an amazing feeling, and like I actually left happy, if that makes sense, you know?
Sure, yeah. Which is exactly what Chris would have wanted, for sure.
Yeah.
And I heard like so many great things about him, and like one that I'm going to actually live into is a lady came up, and I guess it was Krist's regiment. Basically, like, if he was going to hire you on, he would ask you, tell me something bad or horrible about you, and whatever you told him, you know, if you were being honest.
Oh my God, I loved that part.
Right,
Different
yeah, I love
employees, like his apprentice, people that were scared to interview with him. Most interviews, people are trying to impress. Here's my portfolio. Here's what I can bring to the table. And Chris, on every interview, he was like, nah, what's the worst thing about you?
Yeah.
And
Fuck
most
yeah.
people would want to try and like,
Church it up a little bit.
yeah, church it up. And Chris would be like, what's it going to take for you to just be raw and honest with me? Tell me the worst thing about you. And the person would finally fold and be like, okay, this is the worst thing about me. Then Chris would look at him and be like, okay, you're hired because of that.
Which
That's
I fucking love
awesome.
that, dude.
Awesome. Yeah.
And so then people were standing up there like, oh my God, he hired me on my biggest flaws, believed in me at my worst point, which is what that love and acceptance is what pulled the best out of all of them.
You know, a lot of that old punk rock attitude, part of that has always been integrity. You know what I mean? And that just shows the value that Chris has. You know, he wanted them to be honest, brutally honest, which sets that particular person that he hired off on an incredibly good path, working with him and the rest of the crew, because he's already said the worst thing he's done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking genius. Again, the name of the studio, Evil Genius. Hey,
Okay.
that's adding up, right? You know,
Man.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
And I was not able to attend the service, and I'm so thankful that you guys went for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did see photos, and I saw, you know, the hoodie and his stickers all over his casket, and it's like, you know, he went out the way he would have wanted to, and I just, that's so important, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, and then that they kept true to him.
Yeah,
You know?
so true that, you know, because I've been to so many funerals. I mean, I've lost count of how many I've conducted myself, you know. But this one was so true to him and so different. There was no sermon. There was no speaker. There was no preacher. None of that shit. It was literally him up. It was an open casket. Friends, family, and the whole service was an open microphone for people to get up and just share the impact that this man has had in their life.
That's
one
fantastic.
after another, and that was the service.
Wow.
You know,
I love it.
yeah.
I love it. That gives me closure and peace knowing that happened. I'm so glad you guys were able to be there, for real. That's awesome.
Yeah, and they wrote to thank us because, you know, again, this was in Indiana. And so most of the people there were locals that, but there was a few of us, like Hip and I drove, and we didn't leave till like midnight, and it was, almost 5 hours away. We drove all night long to go there and got in our hotel at like 5 a.m., took a nap to be there by noon, right? And got suited up, whatever. Well, I was suited up. Hip rolls Hip. He's all blacked out doing his thing, which I love. Anyhow.
Yeah, Matt, you actually looked out of place at this funeral, which is super fucking dope.
At least from the neck down.
But you look good still. But, everybody was just like wearing like, how he would have remembered seeing us.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh, my God. But one thing that Hip and I did, because I want, is we represented you, Mr. Carlton, all of Evergreen, and we tried to represent the whole tattoo industry, all the lives from coast to coast, all over the globe that Krist has impacted, the lives that he's touched, that are here in spirit, that couldn't be here today in the flesh. I wanted his daughters, his family to see our faces as a representation of thousands of faces. Yeah. And in that moment, sharing that, the whole crowd erupted and started clapping, didn't they? Mm-hmm. Just to say that we were a representation of tattooers all over the globe, standing in the gap in representation of you, Mr. Carlton, all of Evergreen, and everyone. And that really blessed them all, knowing that his impact is great. And just because they're not here in the flesh today does not mean that we're not all here in spirit,
Beautiful. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm lucky enough that, I'm from Indiana, and I met Krist. I mean, I think it's 15 years ago. Yeah. So when I lived in Shelbyville, Indiana, I get book an appointment with I know he's a tattoo artist. I'm always super honored to ever tattoo another tattoo artist is always an honor. But then to be able to tattoo their hand is even bigger. That's so important too. It's so visual and so visible. So that's how I met him. He came out and I did a flower on his hand, and that's probably 15 years ago. And even then, he was, Krist was an OG tattoo guardian before we realized it. He just always carried that in his heart. Yes. So I was immediately like, I like this guy. I'm attracted to the way that he lives, right? So we just stayed in touch, and like everything I did, he would be a part of. If I made prints, he would purchase them. If I had seminars, when I moved to Oregon, that's far away. He flew out and took my seminar and painted, and then bought the painting that I did in front of everyone. He was very supportive always. And I was lucky enough to tattoo him multiple times. He'd find me at whatever studio, and I would tattoo him, and we just stayed friends. And I always admired. I come from a punk rock background as well, so I always really admired, one, the integrity. Two, he's just like, I don't give a fuck what you think about me, which is really difficult for a lot of people. You know what I mean? Krist was who he was, and he owned it, and did not care what you thought, which attracted like-minded people to him. So that's why when Hip drew a dick for him, and all of a sudden there was 100 dicks for him. And I'm going to have Mike insert a clip. We've got a video where somebody hired.
I did not start the dick fad. I was just I don't want to claim glory for that.
So you would say that you were deep in dick, though.
I was deep in dick for sure.
Deep in dick.
I was probably page 50.
Not the first time in your life.
Heyo.
But we'll insert a clip where somebody, again, to show you just how much people loved Krist, they paid good money to hire a singing telegram service, which I didn't even know they still did. That's fucking awesome. That should be a much bigger part of people's lives. This singing telegram wrote a song about all these dicks, came to Evergreen, sang it to him. It was a celebration of friendship and love, and this is one of the last memories we all got to witness together. Man. And I think that's just so beautiful, and I definitely want you to, like I said, Mike will pop that up at some point in the video here, or at least a link, and you'll be able to see the glow that Krist just carried, Man. And I don't know, I just think that he's a great person. He was an early adopter of when I used to own my own ink company, Alla Prima Ink. He was really an early adopter. The big thing about Krist that was really special to me was from the day that I met him until now, he had a vision. He had a vision of what he wanted to tattoo like. And it was kind of this very punk rock, sort of that trash polka kind of vibe, but he added more color to it. I guess watercolor style, but like tattooed really well. You know, like not like a weak watercolor style that just fades out. He made it look like watercolor, but it was tattooed really strong. I really liked that vision of, because his tattoos were really ballsy. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you might get a portrait of a horse, but it looks like it was scribbled in parts. And as tattooers, we know that's scary as fuck, right? Like, hey, I hope you like scribbles, because that's what I'm fucking doing. You know what I mean? And he really stuck to that when it wasn't popular, and then he helped popularize it. You know? And so he's somebody that helped me finally go, I really want to do what I'm good at and natural at, and not care so much about what everybody thinks. So he's one of the people that was a catalyst for me to eventually go on and do my thing, you know? So he had a great impact on me. Like, I know he sought me out to tattoo him, but he had a great impact on me. And I really hope at some point that he was aware of that.
Yeah.
You know, because that's something that I live with now is, you know, I'm going back through our old texts, you know, hey, I'm still in town for a couple of days. Do you want to get lunch? And I'm super sick and I couldn't get lunch with him. And now I feel guilty that I didn't get lunch with Krist and then he passed. These are things we all go through, these battles of like, what's the last thing I said? You know, I know Matt hung out with him a lot, you know, and so you get these beautiful memories of that was your safe spot to go and sit with Krist and be real and kick it. And you had no idea what was around the corner. But you've got those memories, and because you guys are so like-minded, I guarantee you he felt the same way, and he was like, man, that was so nice to hang out with Matt and him. You know what I mean? So, like, what a great last few memories, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
and hearing from his family and the people at the funeral, like apparently even this year going to Evergreen was like last minute for him, and even the girl who booked all his flights was there speaking, but they just spoke almost like the reverence he had for Evergreen and for you, Josh. And like, you know, because this man go all over the world, but there was something extra special. Everyone knew that Krist was extra stoked about getting to go to Evergreen. Like, that was like monumental in his life every fucking year, even leading up to this year. And it was interesting how often that came up, how much he loved Joshua Carlton and Evergreen. And we're here, and it was just a month ago, and now they're talking about it. Almost like everyone was happy for him that he got to go to Evergreen this year one last time.
That's so awesome.
know?
And that's a
Yeah.
perfect example of what Evergreen is, because by bringing together like-minded artists, like all of us, right?
Yeah.
Krist could sit at this table with us and fit in perfectly because, like I said, he's an OG tattoo guardian.
Yes.
You know, I was fortunate enough that when I joined Tattoo Business Mastery, guess who was also there? Krist. You know what I mean? So, like, you know, we have all of these experiences with this man who really did leave tattooing better than he found it. And you know how important that is to all of us.
Yes.
Right? He was always all about learning. He was always never too good, never done, you know, ready to explore, always down too, like to do something. Let's go fucking jump on this train. I don't know where it's taking us. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
You know, as a 47-year-old man, it's hard to make real friends as an adult. And Krist just made it easy to be in his life.
Yeah.
And to just, like I said, just to kick it. Like, he was that way. It was just stress-free. We could talk about anything. Don't get me wrong, I love talking about tattooing, but there's other things, and we could just talk about anything, as I know you experienced with him as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think that I think he was a really wonderful man who did leave his mark. You know, we talked about him before in the past. He's the one that founded Ghost, which is a brilliant idea. And we were like, what's the answer to traveling? And we were like, well, there it is right there. You know, it was a great idea. And, you know, if that's something that's continuing on, I'm not sure if it is. I really encourage everybody to support it. Because it's a brilliant idea where they'll put together whatever you need, supply-wise, you know, razor, lap cloths, all these things to tattoo with. And instead of you packing it up, they'll have it packaged up for you and at your table, at your booth when you get to the show. What a fantastic idea.
Yes.
So if they're still around, if Ghost is still out there, I think you should at least look into it and support this company.
Yeah.
And help continue on what Krist believed in.
You know, nothing exposes a man's character more than seeing how he treats someone that he doesn't think he needs.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we all see it. I even saw it in someone that I know yesterday. Nothing exposes someone's character than when you get to watch how they treat someone they don't think they need. Mm-hmm. That's when true colors show up, right?
Absolutely.
And most people are shitty. They put on an act. Like, people in my life that want to be down with me put on the best performance, and I start to think it's real and believe that it is until I see them treat someone else that they don't have on a Matt Clemmer pedestal, right? See how they treat someone they don't think's important, and that shows me their real character. And the reason why I bring that up is because I feel like Krist was such an example of loving and accepting anyone and everyone, not because of what the world says makes you cool or not. And I think that was real prevalent at his service, because there was lives and lives and lives, and people impacted, clients, friends, people that he impacted. But there was a slew of folks, whether we want to look at the world would call the rejects, the world would call whatever, or even on a business tip, there were people there that if Krist just cared about what you could do for me or my business, half those people wouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
They could have been perceived as people that he don't need in his life, right? But the building was swarmed and a line out the door of so many people that was touched by him because he loved them first, accepted them first as they are, which gave them permission to really shine and just speak more to a man after my own heart. I loved seeing that in real time, in real life, with the real people, you know.
Yeah. You know, we tend to kind of run in some of these same circles. And, you know, I'm not sure if you knew, but, you know, Evil Geniuses, I believe, is his own shop. But he worked with Mark. He worked with St. Mark for years prior to that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, you know, in Lafayette, you know, so it's funny how this all seems to come from, you know, it's still that same family kind of thing going on, you know what I mean, about with Brian Brenner and St. Mark. And, you know, I guess Indiana in Ohio definitely breeds some good people, you know.
Really does, man. Really, really does, man.
And,
always has.
You know, another fun story, speaking to how fucking punk rock this dude was. So he had an appointment to tattoo his father, and his father passed, and he was allowed to go in and tattoo his father's corpse.
Really?
Yes.
That is
so
fucking dope.
And he never got to give his dad that last tattoo, and his dad passed. He got permission from the morgue to go in and still tattooed his father.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
I think that fucking punk rock. I don't know what it is.
That wins the punk rock award for sure. Holy shit!
Yeah.
Wow.
And see, it's like shit like this, like going there. It's funny because like it stirred up a bunch of shit being a kid and like seeing the pictures of him before he started his tattoo journey, and it was just like I totally relate. The town where the funeral was held reminds me of where I grew up at here in Ohio, which is, you know, a little small podunk town in BFE. And there's not shit to do, especially if you're kind of alternative and a weird thinking individual and are into different things. You either watch mud dry or fucking start getting into your imagination. So there would be just countless times where I would be experimenting with different bands and musics and trying this and hearing things. You know, we were around the same age. So, you know, we didn't grow up with the internet, so we had to entertain ourselves, and just seeing those old pictures of him as a kid, and going up through adolescence and the place we were at, I just remembered being a kid and like what it was like. And, you know, Josh, you spoke on something, about, you know, not knowing, you know, and going back through your messages. And it's an important thing to remember to like, one, always be in the present moment, because we never know. And, to any of our listeners that are tattoo artists that may have artists in mind that they look up to or have slapped hands with or networked with in conventions, or may be too scared to approach, because I'm even guilty of that. Anytime I meet an artist, especially someone who I put on a pedestal, whether they've been tattooing longer or more popular than me. And Chris is a great example of this. There was intimidation there coming from me, because it was just like, holy shit, like, people know this dude. He's got a fucking corner booth at Evergreen. He's of importance. And fear had hindered me from getting to actually have more memories and know him for who he was. And, who knows, we could have been fucking super fucking tight besties. But the point that I'm trying to make is, like, fuck the fear, go through it, and, like, get to know these people that you look up to and build these relationships, because life's fragile, and in a blink of an eye, anything can happen to any of us. Tomorrow's not promised, and it's like, why not live today in this moment to the fullest that we can? Because we never know what's going to be around the corner waiting for us. And so, I'd rather regret the things I did than the things I didn't do,
Absolutely.
And just like you, I'll regret, like, man, I could have actually kicked it with him those 2 times more than just shaking his hand and kind of getting to know him a little bit. Maybe I could have went and had dinner with him,
Yeah.
And he was young, too.
Right.
For all the listeners that don't know him, and if you're curious, because everyone always is, this man fell asleep and just didn't wake up. So he passed in his sleep, young, still in his 30s, right?
2 children.
2 children, and fucking, just nuts. But speaking to, we never know. Mm-hmm. We were just kicking it with him. He's young, in his 30s, got his whole life ahead of him. None of us even had the thought that he's just going to go in his sleep next week, right? It's something we don't plan. Like you always say, Hip, this is not our practice life. In case that whole reincarnation thing don't quite work out, this might be the only shot we got, right?
Right.
My God, let's get it. And for all of you listeners there, out there, I just want to touch on funerals for a minute, because who likes going to them? Fucking no one. And most people will avoid them like the plague. Even my own twin brother, when we have a family member that passes, my twin ain't going. I can't tell you how many times I've had to drag Todd, because he gets all emotional and worked up, and he don't, like most people, you don't want to go. And you'll tell yourself, I don't want to, it's okay, they're gone, whatever. It's not, but the importance of, and there are no words to say. Like, if you feel like I can't show up, well, there's nothing I can say. I don't want to just be the 100th person that says sorry about your loss, whatever, right? This isn't about having the right words to say or any of that. The power is just to be there. Just by you being there. And it's more than enough. And we went to be there, not just to honor Krist and his life, but for the people he's left behind, i.e. his family, his 2 daughters. I believe it's important for them to see faces that they've never seen before, of other lives they've impacted. Oh my God, look at that person. That dude looks real fucking weird. That dude's crazy. They look cool. My daddy must have had an impact on them. Wow, these people are here. My dad must have touched their life. Like, it's to honor him, but the people he left behind, to show them your family member, your father meant something to us. He touched our lives, and we're here just to be here to show you that. To me, that's so important for all of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and and like, if I might be wrong, but I believe I'm correct. Not only did he just go to sleep and pass, I believe it was in the tattoo shop.
Yeah.
From what I understand, he came in pretty early, just kind of nodded off, and I believe it was a blood clot.
Yeah.
And I woke up. I woke up to this terrible news. Again, you just don't even consider it, because, with somebody that's sick or whatever, you might be like, when someone says, "Hey, did you hear what happened?" You kind of, your stomach sinks. And I woke up to my little sister calling me, And she says, did you hear about Krist? And I immediately thought, no, what did he do? That's awesome.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And she said, he's gone. And I'm like, what do you mean he's gone? I just saw him, you know? You know your brain does that weird thing with like, well, no, I just saw him 3 weeks ago. There's no possible way he's gone.
That's
Because
right.
your brain's trying to protect you.
Yeah.
And she's like, he's passed away, Josh. And I couldn't even comprehend it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And immediately it was like, you know, what happened? And little news, you know, until I think it was one of his family members reached out and let me know. Mm-hmm. How did you hear the news, Matt? Did you catch it pretty early as well, or?
No, and I think I saw it from you when you made the post.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Honor
That's right.
him, and then I think I immediately called you. Like,
And you're
what?
like, what?
Yeah. I couldn't believe it either.
Yeah.
I had to wait before I called you. I had to let my own monkey mind.
Yeah, it's amazing
go
how
through
your
that.
brain does that because, you know, sometimes we'll even go through things of like, oh, it's a really cruel April Fool's joke and it's not real. I don't know. Your brain
Right.
really does stretch out and make these really weird excuses.
Yeah, I was hoping this was going to be some crazy punk rock shit. you
Right.
know?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
he's changing his whole thing, and the old Krist has died, and the new one's gonna be. That's what he means. He's not.
That's
He's
right.
way because I just saw him, and he's so young, and oh fuck, you know, this is real,
Yeah.
and it just crushes you. It's just this crushing blow, and it's like
Yeah.
I had to call Riley. Riley really loved Krist. He, I think he's even said it a couple of times. He was his favorite tattoo artist. Riley really appreciated his absolute ability to be completely unique, and was really looked up to him for that. You know, I think he met him at the first educational we did in Hollywood, and they just became quick friends. And he would always talk about Krist, you know, his favorite tattooer, and if he could really just tattoo like anybody, that's who he would want to emulate. And so I had to make that phone call, and it was the same thing. Riley was like, I was like, hey man, how, you know, blah blah blah, and I was like, did you hear about Krist? And it's exactly the same thing. He's like, no, what's going on? What's he doing?
Right.
You know, did he sell Ghost? Is he making a new company? You know, like he was excited. What's Krist up to?
Right.
And I had to, oh man, and like Riley's a tough guy, you know what I mean? And I heard his voice drop, you know, and of course it affected him deeply,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
I don't know. I guess I don't even know
Yeah.
where I'm going with this other than the impact that Krist has had on so many people's lives.
Man.
And if you know him and you knew him and you're listening, my heart feels for you. I know what that's like. And if you need to talk to somebody, like you just need an ear, I'm here. Text
Yeah.
me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sure we'd
Yeah.
all happily listen to somebody. If you've got
Yeah.
a story to share about Krist, please put it down in the comments.
Yeah.
Let's keep this torch burning for a really wonderful human being
Yeah.
that really did leave tattooing better than he found it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of impact, you know, Mark Moots sent me this quote, which I loved, and it's from Benjamin Disraeli, and this is just fitting for men like Krist. And it says, "The greatest good you can do for another is not just to share your riches, but to reveal to them their own." And I just love that. The greatest good you can do for another is not to share your riches, but to reveal to them their own.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah, that's powerful. That's really powerful.
it is, and that's the way Krist lived. That's the way we live. That's our hearts. You know, lighting the path, right, Josh? Lighting the path.
I think sometimes that even though we live this and we believe it every day, it takes something like this to kind of reset everything. I'm pretty fully recharged on where my heart and my mind are at and my goals as I move forward. Because I fully plan on surviving this cancer.
Yeah.
And I want to live every day the best life that I can live, give the best that I can give. And now I even have somebody more. Let me give for Krist.
Yeah.
Let me give more for Krist.
Yeah.
For the other people too. You know,
Yes.
I've made a print available that when you purchase it, it goes directly to Krist's family. I get zero money whatsoever.
Yes.
And it's a portrait of Krist being super punk rock with a badass mohawk.
Yeah.
And I will happily send it to you. I just need you to donate to his GoFundMe, which is been awesome. I've seen people really step up and help out with that. I know a few of you have been really instrumental in it. Of course, I know you guys have done your part. I thank everybody that's done their part. If you've ordered a print, I do want to put it out there. I'm doing my best. I do these myself. I promise you they're on their way. I'm not flaking on you or anything. I've been in bed for 2 weeks, very sick.
Yeah.
Nobody's bothered me in a hurry, but I promise you they're going to be shipped and they'll get to you. And again, I can't thank you enough, because that money went directly to Krist's family to help with very expensive funeral costs.
Yep. Yeah.
So thank you very much for doing that.
Big time. And you can still give. Happy dates and on all of our pages. Go to Joshua Carlton's page, buy a dope print of art, and
send me a screenshot that you sent that you paid, and we'll get it out to you.
Listeners, every man dies, but not every man truly lives. We all die, but not everyone truly lives. Hopefully today's discussion gets you to think about, how do you want us to talk about you? How do you want people to talk about you when you pass, when you cross over? How many people do you want showing up to your funeral to show your family that you touched them? This is about legacy. This is about impact. How you living? This ain't your practice life. We're all going to die, but are you truly living your fullest and best life as if it's the only one you got? Right?
Right.
I mean, selfishly, I really hope you boys are at my funeral with thousands of other people that said, man, that man touched me, right? I hope you guys will have the courage to just be there so that my daughters can see your faces, right? And this is what we should do to honor anyone that we know that's crossed on. How will the rest of the people know the legacy that you've really left, the impact you've really left? My God, it's an honor to know Krist, and you mentioned a lot of people talk like this when people pass, who they were, who he was, right? But this is why us tattooers, when anyone comes to get a memorial tattoo and they want a date on it, we always talk them out of that date.
Correct.
Picture's worth 1,000 words. This image, let the image, the art, honor the life and the legacy of this person. Not just who they were, but who they still are and who they will always be, right? We here on planet Earth are stuck in space and time, but I believe we are eternal beings. And let us honor, if you're going to get a memorial tattoo or give one, let us honor the life and legacy of someone, who they were, who they still are, and who they will always be. And let's not limit their legacy to one arbitrary date on this space and time. The worst day, the day we fucking lost them. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of all days, the worst day, exactly.
No shit. And when you see a birth date and a death date with a dash in the middle, it's all about what you did in the dash. You know?
Yeah.
And that dash lives forever. What you did in that dash lives on. That's why we're able to talk about it today. We honor Krist, the legacy and the man he was, who he still is, and who he will always be in our life. Right, fellas?
Right.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, at the end of the day, too, Krist lived the life that he wanted to live. And he's a great example of that. I know I keep kind of mentioning not really caring what other people think and doing his own thing and forging his own path and lighting his own path. And he definitely lit people up around him, which you got to experience at Evergreen.
Man.
And I'm just so glad to hear that story. I'm so glad that you were able to make it. Circumstances-wise, you came so close to not even being there, and you would have missed out on all of that goodness.
Yes.
And that's the universe aligning things for all of us.
Yes,
and giving you those memories to share. So
yeah,
that's awesome to think about.
So huge, man. So huge. And just a test to, we need each other, you know, because if the roles were switched right now, and if it was my funeral or yours and Chris, I know that Chris would be saying how much you or I impacted his life, right?
Right.
We
And that's
get
what it's
to.
about.
Yes, it is. My God, to go through this vulnerable journey together.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. You know, it's been so cool. This podcast has really shined a light on exactly that, on how similar we all are. You know, we're all mostly tattooists and artists, and we're all a little bit crazy because of it, right? And we feel so out there by ourselves, and our whole lives we stood alone. And you're like, well, wait a minute. These people think like me.
Yes.
These people think the way that I think, and I'm not so alone. And these crazy thoughts where I'm so fucking driven, and I'll stay up all night, and I'll paint, and I'll paint, and I'll paint, and it's never good enough. We get you. We do it too.
Yeah.
You know? It's not wavering. I'm almost 33 years in. I'm still obsessed deeply. And Krist was the same way. He was always doing something amazing and new and innovative and forward thinking. And look how similar we all are. Krist could sit right at this table. I have a feeling that almost all of you listeners would just fit perfectly sitting at this table with this discussion.
Yeah.
As long as you keep listening, we're going to keep making this podcast because I love the idea of us all coming together and lighting this path. Look how fucking bright it is with thousands of us. Let's get 10,000. Let's get more. Let's change the way things are. They don't have to be the way they've been. This is a new era. This is a new generation. This is a new way to be, to live, to create.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
We are the future of tattooing. Let's truly change it.
My God.
We can do this. Together, we can do this.
Yes.
I believe that with all of my heart. We can fucking change everything.
It's
All of
already
the bullshit
happening.
in the darkness. Come out of the dark.
Yep.
Let's fucking celebrate. Let's create incredible tattoos, and we'll fucking celebrate together.
Oh, love it. Woo.
I see you.
Dude, come on, Josh. I don't think we could honor the life of Krist any better than being that. Well, everything you just said, man, come on. We're real lucky to have each other. And when I say each other, all you listeners, this podcast, and brothers like Krist Karloff in our lives to help light the path and to hand the torch on so that we continue being love and light to the world. As tattoo artists, the fuck?
Exactly. As tattoo artists, yes. Yes.
Yes.
We got the best job. We got such a wonderful job. Everybody's so upset and cranky and bitching about the guy down the street. It's like, just try it. Just try it, you know? Just give it a try.
Yes, man. Send us your address. We'll ship you some Kool-Aid. Oh, my God. There's some things that money and talent just can't buy, right? I'm so thankful that's what we're cultivating here on this show. Everything that really makes this deal special is free.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, man, I love you guys.
I love you too. So glad to be back.
Yes.
All the people that have been sending me positive thoughts, energy, prayers, I appreciate you more than you know. It's really helped. It's really, really helped. I had some pretty dark days where I could not get out of bed. And when I could finally get to my phone and kind of just see a couple of messages, it would like just give me that little bit of energy, you know, to keep fighting, to keep going, and to figure out what was going on. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yep. And he's almost downplaying it. There's a few days that he didn't know if he was going to see tomorrow.
Absolutely.
You know?
It's really a weird feeling, you know, to start, you know, accepting, you know, well, I hope it's quick. I hope I go in my sleep, you know, if I could just not wake up.
Man.
It's a pretty horrible place for your wife to witness you going through. Matt's been fighting struggle with his wife as well, so he's very familiar. I'm really fortunate that I've got close friends. I was able to reach out to Hip at an extremely critical time, and he dropped everything to listen to me and very, very much helped set me on a better path. I couldn't thank you enough, brother.
Yeah.
You might not realize what that phone call meant to me, but
Yeah.
it was a lot.
Yeah.
Love you, man.
Yeah. And this is what I meant in the beginning of the show, that how amazing it's been that we've been able to find happiness and fulfillment and joy in the midst of such struggle and pain. My man's been fighting for his life, but he's still serving with his whole heart. You know what I'm saying? My God, such power. Let's end with giving. You want to just speak directly to Krist and tell him anything? Thank you. Anything? Acknowledge him live on the show one last time to our brother Krist, as if maybe he even can hear us right now.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. For me, Krist, I'm just so incredibly glad that you were in my life for so long as well. I'm so honored that you were a part of Evergreen. And to hear that you were excited to be there, it just means so much to me, because I was so excited to see you as well. I get so geeked out about being able to see these people, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it at all. And amazingly, that whole weekend, I felt incredible, and I was there the whole time. Yeah. We joked around about people carrying a laptop around with me on a Zoom call just so I could see people from my bedside, and I felt fucking amazing. And I got to hang out with Krist a lot. I got to hang out with you, buddy, and I got to see your face, and we laughed, which is so important because we always laughed so much together. We just laughed and we laughed, and we were able to share experiences, and I'm so incredibly thankful that I have that memory to hold on to, and you will forever be in my heart from the day I met you 15 years ago to all of the incredibly silly conversations we've had till the last moments. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being true.
Yes.
And thank you for allowing me to be a part of it. I love you.
Man, it's huge. Huge. Yes. Thank you, Krist, for the example that you lived and left for all of us, giving us all permission to just walk in our own personal full expression of ourselves. Freedom, with that punk rock freedom of fuck them, fuck whatever they think I've got to be, and I'm gonna be me. And by Krist, you being you, you liberated so many others and gave them permission to be themselves, starting with even hiring them on the worst thing about them out the gate. Man, you really lived it to the fullest, and your light shines bright, and you've inspired all of us to take a little piece and a note and a page out of your book and add it to ours. And just walking in full love, light, and keeping it light. Like Josh said, cutting up, joking. The importance of laughing no matter what. Krist, man, thank you for all that you have brought to us, to the world, to your family, to your friends, to your town, and to the whole tattoo industry. We love you. We honor you today. We see you. We thank you so, so much. Blessings are upon all of us. You listeners today, hopefully today, today's discussion has been a friendly reminder to you of what the fuck really matters and everything that don't. And for you to realize the importance of being there for the people in your world, and to realize this ain't your practice life. And who do you want to be there for you? And what shall we say about you, who you were, who you are, and will always be? This is legacy. Till next week, we'll see y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Much love to all of you guardians out there.